time is it? Is it time to give a shit yet? Ooh, nice, not yet.
Ain't got a bitch holding, going in the direction that I'm going. That booty got it where a nigga keep.
Sir. Now, I'm gonna need you to do something really important. Right. I'm gonna need you to turn it off. Yep, turn it off. Exactly. We're just gonna turn it back on. You gotta trust me. Sir, I've been doing computers for a long time. A long time. Probably longer than... It's over 2 years now.
Oh my God! Specimen Z isn't Carter's body. What is it? Specimen Z is a cure for cancer. Carter didn't die. He cured himself.
Hold it right there. Damn it, Brian, you broke into my lab, and you didn't wear a suit.
Hey, why didn't he have to wear a suit?
See what you've started now?
How long have you had this?
I don't know. When was that Who Let the Dogs Out song?
You've had this since 1999? You know when Who Let the Dogs Out came out? Why the hell would you keep it buried like this?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's far more money to be made in treating a disease than in curing it.
Why the hell would you keep it buried like this?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's far more money to be made in treating a disease than in curing it. Why cure someone of cancer in a day if we can treat them for a lifetime and bill them every step along the way?
What? That's insane! Carter, what you're doing here is criminal, and I'm gonna tell the whole world about it.
Is that right? Who's gonna believe you? The internet? You'll be just another nutjob left-wing blogger. Security?
Everything's fine.
No, it isn't. Get in here.
I believe Carter would sacrifice millions of lives just to protect corporate profits.
Well, don't be too upset. Old Stewie here snagged a little souvenir on his way out.
Oh my God, Stewie, you got the cancer cure! How'd you manage to steal it?
Oh, it was easy. I just took it while you guys were yammering on.
All right. What's going on, guys? Quick little radio check here. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I want to make sure we don't have the audio issues we had the last time, or the time before that. Let's see, here is what we are going to be looking at tonight. Excellent. Looks like we're sounding good. Hope everybody's doing well. We are on fire. I am loving this new timeline we are on. We got some wins all the way around. Smash that like button. Hit that subscribe. For everyone new here, thanks for joining. I am Jax Slater. In real life, my name is Jake, and so you can call me whatever one you're more comfortable with. But some of you might know me because I'm down that rabbit hole of negotiable instruments and litigation and all that fancy stuff around really trying to attain one's freedom. Adjacent probably to other content out there like Brandon Joe Williams, James C. Lovett, Biz Nick or Nicholas Burns. He's got great content out there. Check him out. So yeah, we'll be going over some good stuff tonight. For those of you who are new, welcome. I know many of you have found me because I was interviewed on the Brandon Joe Williams show about the lawsuit win, sued the finance company for the auto dealer, and came out on top through a settlement using Brandon's strategies, really. And so many of you have done a consult just to talk about that in particular. Let's see. So if any of you are interested in diving in on a one-on-one level, I do offer consultations. But tonight we're going to focus on some of the announcements that we have around the new uncensored chat tool that I've been working on. We're going to talk about the recent win that just came through last night. One of the group members, followers, shared that what they did with the BOE generator was successful on the IRS docket. So we will share that. We've got the myself. I had a win, not a huge win, but with the new truck that after winning the lawsuit, used the proceeds to buy a new truck. Of course, standard insurance policy won't do. I've got to use the bond and enforce it. And I got that letter from the DMV that said, "Hey, you need to prove you're insured." And so I took the steps to reply with the bond, and that was a month and a half ago. And so they threatened to deactivate my registration unless I proved that I was insured. And so I tried the bond method, not on its own. There were some other steps that chat advised, and so I'll go through that. But so that's pretty cool. We'll talk about the debt lawsuit defensive strategies that I have learned most recently, just from paying attention and participating in multiple lawsuits myself, not just for myself, but there's a few select clients I've taken on if the circumstances are right, and the stars align and a few other things, then it's possible I might involve myself a little closer than I normally would with regard to your case and helping get it over the finish line. So it's also something we can consult about, but there's a way to use arbitration to your advantage. And I think I kind of figured out the sweet spot for that. I had mentioned it on the previous call, but we didn't have time to get to it. We're going to do a bunch of questions from you guys as well. We're going to see how many problems we can solve tonight, and how much lawful guidance we can dish out. And so if that sounds good to you guys, we can get right into it. So the first thing to share would be the BOE generator, which is, I'll go ahead and share my screen. This we talked about on the last couple, and people started jamming on it right away, right? It's been pretty popular. And so super easy to sign up. Just pop in here, hit sign in, and log in with Google or create an account. But the point here is to generate an instrument appropriate for your debt or the bill that has come in. And so we had people firing this off for the IRS, and somebody shared that they already had success with it. So that was this comment right here that I sent off an email earlier. We posted about it in the group earlier, and so this has started some conversation. I see a bunch of people have signed up, but Kevin here chimed in and said right after the last live, he hopped onto the BOE generator and sent one off to the IRS. And so he used his estate as the maker, and the his straw man as the payer, and then the IRS Treasury was the beneficiary, the payee. So for those of you who are interested and want to give this a shot, if you do a consult with me, you'll get this automatically. You'll get a subscription to this lifetime membership if you want this over the voicemail service, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, this just makes it that much easier to generate an instrument that's compliant and lawful, and has a much better chance of having some sticking power, right? So when you log into your dashboard, you're going to see it kind of gives you some metrics around how many you've created, and it's interesting. What the real value is here in being able to pull up your document like this. So it generates a really official looking instrument that is ready to rock. And since the last time we talked, simplified it a little bit. We only need one signer here for the drawer. The drawer is the maker, right? And so the maker and the beneficiary can be the same, or the payer and the beneficiary can be the same. But the maker and the payer cannot be the same. And so the one thing that we know about the Treasury, for them to consider it a perfected instrument, it needs to be made payable to the United States Treasury. And so in this case, you would be tendering one to say, if you're trying to pay off Capital One for 100 grand, you're instructing the Treasury to do their duty and pay Capital One. But if you were attempting to pay off Treasury debt, there's probably a few ways that you could swing this to make it compliant. You could instruct the Treasury to pay themselves, because that's essentially what you're doing anyway. Or you could probably have your estate instruct your straw man to pay the Treasury. All right, that's kind of what the example win earlier. It sounds like that they did. So if you can see that, make this a little bit bigger. But what you get here with the bill of exchange generator is not just the instrument that's fully compliant, has its unique reference number, right? If you were going to claim this on an OID, it would be this number, this identifier, this serial number. And then it's got an attached memorandum of law that you can include, which is more or less instructions for them, how it's fully compliant to Article 3 of the Uniform Commercial Code, how it aligns to fully the U.S. regulatory framework, so 12 CFR Part 210, and then 12 USC 5001, which is the facilities electronic processing of negotiable instruments through substitute check authority. It sounds good, doesn't it? Right? And then the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, and then there's presentment instructions here. Right, and then this memorandum is provided as a companion document to the bill of exchange referenced above. It is not part of the instrument itself and does not modify, condition, or limit the unconditional order contained in the instrument. Right, so that's another key component of a bill of exchange to be valid. It can't have modify or condition or limit the order in any way, and it could be construed as limiting somehow. If this was like on the backside, so my advice probably is have this be on a separate page. And then when you're going to print any of these documents out from this tool, I'd probably also recommend do it on bond paper, not regular paper, but bond paper. All right, let me check the comments here for a moment while you guys noodle on this. Can you explain the estate part? Right? Yeah, sure. So the estate, many of us who go down this rabbit hole come across templates or Patrick Devine content or something that says, oh, you need your 3 EINs. You need more EINs. You got your estate EIN. And so the estate EIN is just like getting a trust EIN or any other EIN. You go on the website and you answer the questions and they give you an EIN right away. Usually an estate EIN it's created by the executor. When you die, somebody says, yep, the straw man is dead. Now everything processes through the estate. But apparently the money is in the estate EIN, apparently, and there's some claim your credits processes that talk about using either the estate or a trust EIN to transfer credits to the straw man. I'm less familiar with those methods that work anyway. We know there's some that have shown evidence of them working in the past, but not many have been able to duplicate those scenarios. Whether you really need an estate EIN, don't know, not necessarily. But if you've already got an estate, that could be your other party that instructs the straw man to pay the Treasury for whatever reason, whatever debt. You print these on bond paper. Yep, sure do. Tried your previous. Yeah, there's could be a lot of reasons for that. The guidance could have been wrong depending on what you exactly you sent. We have learned since too that just don't send anything to headquarters anymore. 1500 Pennsylvania might not be ideal. was working for some time, but it seems like everything there is now either rejected or rerouted. And so there is some merit in considering that might not be a usable address. It's not technically defined as an address that the taxpayer should use. It's in the IRM manuals. The headquarters, 1500 Pennsylvania, is in the IRM manual as something for the employees to forward bills of exchange to, not for the taxpayer necessarily to send anything. Let's see. Are these examples in the docs section on the website? Yep, there are some. The latest BOEs, these that you're seeing on the screen, aren't templates in the repository necessarily. These are too customized and fine-tuned. The system like generates it immediately on the fly based on the numbers that you put in the dashboard. If you were to go in here and then you say generate BOE, you fill out the instructions. I just added this reminder here about how drawer and payee can be the same, and the drawer and drawee and payee can be the same, but the drawer and drawee cannot be the same. Confusing, right? I figured I might as well just put it in the header here, and then we've got some templates. I'm going to add this new Treasury update for everybody, but there's also some templates in here that everyone should have. Treasury as payee default. Here's an example of, like, if you wanted to use your LLC or your estate here in this box, you could do that, and you're instructed in the estate, hey estate, to John Henry Doe, the straw man, pay the Treasury, right? And there's your three-party BOE example. There may not be, or there may be multiple ways that would technically work for your situation. Just make sure you're following this right here. Make sure that the drawer and drawee are not the same. So that is it. Let's see. Bond paper, where do you get it? Amazon is really the easiest, or like Staples or Office Max. I have found, though, that those two places, they have the more like decorative stuff. They're kind of assuming that, oh, you want to print certificates out for like the Little League team? Like, no. We need real bond paper. Your mileage may vary. Staples or Office Max may or may not, but Southworth bond paper from Amazon is the easiest one. It's like $20-25 for a box. Would you use the memorandum as a cover page? You certainly could. It technically would be enough, and you probably wouldn't need anything else. So yeah, that's kind of the point. But you can use the AI advisor if you wanted to talk to the document advisor here over on the side. This thing will help, give you an idea of what you should use, which one you should use and who goes where, and you can explain your scenario, and it'll guide you accordingly. Some people might not need that. It'll write the cover letter for you too if you want it to. Are these examples in the doc section, and where does the bond number come from? The bond number is just a unique number. These instruments need a unique number, so when they are sold off and securitized, there's some unique identifier to it. Some cases you can use the registered mail number as your unique identifier, because then you're tendering it with the unique number. Let's see. How would you use this with the IRS bill? Do you need to endorse their coupon as well and include the BOE? Great question. My thought process is, why not do both, right? Use the original statement kind of as the receipt as to what you're paying, and then you stamp that, accept it and sign it. Maybe bare minimum, just say accepted and throw your signature on it, because that's technically the bare minimum for accepting a document. It has everything else to qualify. And then the matching BOE for whatever amount goes there. And so probably something like this. For the average Joe, you would do something like this. You would just be telling, like, hey, John Henry Doe, Treasury, you need to pay the Treasury to settle this debt, right? This is technically allowed also. The payer and the beneficiary can be the same, or the maker and the beneficiary can be the same. But when you're settling a tax debt, all of the instructions that I've seen in the IRM manual and all of that, where they reference, it's in the IRM manual, that they say, hey, if you receive a bill of exchange from a taxpayer, send it to 1500, Pennsylvania Northwest. That's why many of us have thought, oh, we'll just skip the process and send it right there. That actually seems to have a low success ratio, and so that could quite be possible that that's not technically an allowed address and it's only for the employees. But for it to be a qualified, perfected instrument, it needs to be payable to United States Treasury. And so in this case, it is, as it's worded here, pay to the order of United States Treasury. And it will always say pay to the order of the beneficiary, right? Whoever it is in that beneficiary position 3 on the BOE generator. What documents do I have in place before sending the BOE? Depends what guru you ask, and whether you're up on the bill or not. My opinion on that is that the code and the law and there's nothing in there about any other prerequisites or requirements. Would it be a good idea to have your status corrected and the UCC 1 and the other stuff? Yeah, maybe. But from what I understand, there are plenty of individuals that are getting remedy and have gotten remedy without doing those extra steps. What can or should this not be used for or on? Anything? Good question. Maybe the way to think of it is more like, in what situations is it worth fighting, right? It's not like your target is just going to lay down and be like, oh, they sent me a perfect BOE, man, bummer, I guess I got to take it. Go ahead and discharge the account, right? Yeah. A lot of cases are still going to get the middle finger, sovereign citizen, oh, vapor money theory, blah, blah, blah. That is still likely, but this at least is a chain of custody and evidence that is going to benefit you the most, probably in court, if you really wanted to take this all the way and enforce it. It might also make it more likely that they'll take it if it is something that they can run to the federal discount window and cash out. Then they might. But yeah, your mileage may vary. When the organization is government adjacent, student loans, taxes, state tax sometimes, maybe, although they don't always like to comply. If they're like adjacent to government, they're a little more likely to follow the law, ironically. And so Treasury, yeah, if you do it right, like Brandon Joe jokes, like the Treasury is literally the only one who follows the law when you do it properly. And so yeah, we've got a world record response time from the Treasury on our example here, less than 30 days, and they already started processing it. So that's huge. Let's see, what else? Has anybody used a BOE to pay off a mortgage? Actually, we talked about that on the last stream, and we had I shared with everybody a group member that used similar process. We had done a consult about this, and he had sent me some examples to review and said, hey, these are all going out to all the creditors. I'll keep you posted. And I said, yeah, man, let me know. It looks great. These are some of the best that I've seen. So they're bills of exchange essentially printed out on check paper. And instead of overtly saying bills of a bill of exchange. It said certified funds, but it also had the instructions there on how to process those. It was very similar to like the memorandum. So he had sent the certified funds with the memorandum, and they took it. They took it, cashed, paid off the mortgage. I think it was a $50,000 mortgage or so, and they sent the overage check even. So he had sent me screenshots of the account from his phone, and then sent me the check, a snapshot of the check that they sent him, which was almost $1,000 in overpayment from using his bill of exchange, which was super similar to this. Just doing it right and doing it proper and official and compliant. That's why I built this app, is because it's freaking hard. And a lot of the examples and templates that we had been throwing like spaghetti at the wall for so long, I had my AI evaluate them, and it was like, no, these are not, no. Like, oh, no wonder they haven't been working. And so I used that system to create compliant ones. So far, so good, I guess. Ruben, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. Mortgages, and if they push back, you offer to help. Yeah, definitely. They will push back. You may or may not need my help, but I can definitely guide you in the right direction. A lot of it just comes down to like, they're going to just say you didn't pay, and they're going to try to come at you with foreclosure. And so that's when you flip it into a counterclaim. And most people, if you're facing foreclosure, or if you've tried this and foreclosure is coming, great. You've got a chain of evidence that you can flip into a new narrative with a counterclaim. But do not think that you can go into your foreclosure proceeding and say, oh, I did a bill of exchange, and here's the proof that they got it. Time out. Foreclosure proceedings they don't listen to that stuff. So it's a very specific way that you have to handle it. So ping me or reach out. We don't have time for it on this particular call because we got some other stuff to jam on tonight. But yeah, these could definitely work in your favor if that's a freight train coming your direction. Yeah, love it. Yeah, I think I've seen that. Their envelopes, the clear window, attach the registered mail sticker straight to the bond, and it's scannable while traveling. Yep. Let's see. Can I send this to the Treasury to pay off a loan received from a family member? Let me ask you this. If you wanted to pay your friend's power bill, you think it would keep the lights on? Yes, it will. They do not care who pays or who performs. And so if you want to do the performance, they don't care. They just need a signature. Somebody steps up to offer that signature, they will take it. What's up, Jake? Can the BOE be used for DMV? DMV? Let's see. I think if you're just saying DMV, it's possible. It's possible. I would probably not just send it in through normal channels. I would try to find an executive to tender it to. But yeah, I'd be curious because they are government adjacent, so it's possible. Let's see. Hey, Jake, I hopped on late, so I don't want you to go over it again. But if you did, I still need an EI. No, this is valuable enough that everyone could probably benefit. So we will just confirm for everyone here. So share this tab instead. So everyone who needs to pay off an IRS bill, you would make yourself the maker. And then the drawee and the payee would be the Treasury. So U.S. Treasury for the payer, and then the beneficiary, U.S. Treasury. We know from their own IRM manuals and their guidelines and their bylaws and whatnot that they want payable to U.S. Treasury. So if it has to be payable to U.S. Treasury, they have to be in this box. Now, and these two also have to be separate, but these two can be the same, and then these two can be the same. And so since last stream, I added this note reminder to everybody, just because it is confusing. Now you know that there's kind of multiple ways to swing this, but just make sure that the drawer and drawee are not the same. Let's see, this is a good one. So this needs to be done in accordance with the 1099 process. It doesn't have to be, but to that point, it is much more likely that you will get acknowledged and have the enforcement applied if you did also do the proper filing, which after everything I know now, any one of these three instruments should qualify as a 1099 OID. And so with that thought process, you are the payer, they are the recipient, and it creates a taxable event around you tendering this instrument to them for settlement and discharge, right? And so you've got everything that you need to tender the OID. You would send the copy of what you filed with the instrument. So once you know this is going out, file the OID plus the supporting 8281, right? Because for those who don't know, if you're going to do an OID, you gotta get your hall pass permission slip to file your OID, and that's just sending off the 8281, which is, hey, I did an OID. It's like super redundant, but you're supposed to do it. If you don't do the 8281, they will not process your 1099 OID, apparently. So if you're going to do an OID, do the 8281, get your hall pass, your permission slip, file that, you do those kind of at the same time. But then send the copy of that with your BOE. So now they're receiving the payment and the proof that you told mom and dad. Like, that's what that essentially is. If you're paying your brother or sister and you want to make sure that like they're not going to scam you, you want to tell mom and dad, like, hey, I'm making the payment, I'm paying them in full. Here's the proof that I did it, right? And now they can't wiggle out of it. And so that's the idea here, is you want your target to have tax liability, accountability with the big bad IRS, because almost everybody's afraid of the IRS. And so without that added level of accountability, it's much more likely that they're going to, reject you. Great question. Yeah, let me knock out a few questions first, and towards the end, we'll probably circle back and we'll do a full example. So everybody hang out, and we will come full circle on this subject, and we'll after we kind of flush out all the questions, we'll go through an example that could be relevant for just about everyone. All right. Why not? Absolutely. The collection agencies, we've already had great success with them accepting the payable to bearer endorsement. So many of you have already purchased the payable to bearer stamp off the website. Not so great for the Treasury, because they like payable to U.S. Treasury, which I also have that new stamp. The Treasury stamp is up on the website if you haven't noticed it. And then the payable to bearer stamp is for the state level enforcement, where you're tendering an instrument pursuant to UCC. And so the third party collectors, they've already been pretty receptive to just the endorsed instrument that they send and sending it back to them. But why not give them a BOE too? See what happens. Where do you get the 1099 OID forms from? Yeah, it's super hard. The IRS doesn't like to have them, and I've pretty much heard that no offices have them anymore, which is convenient. People order them. It takes forever. I think I ordered some and they never came. The C's and the B's and the A's came, but the OIDs never came. The other option that people have here is tax 1099. They are the only ones actually that allow you to do the 1099 online. And so that is here. So many of us also have 1099 online, which is great for all the other ones. They do all the other 1099s, but not the OID. From what I understand, this one, and then there might be another one that does the OID, but these this is the good one. Yes, SBA, they are adjacent to the government. They are much more likely to take a proper BOE. I say so. Yeah, there's no reason not to try. Honestly, there's no reason not to try. Property taxes. I know people have done endorsement and tendering the coupon that you get in the mail and tendering that back. Your mileage may vary. I don't know anybody that's used the new BOE generator yet because it's still fairly new. I think I only announced it like 30 days ago or so. But people are ramping up pretty fast on it. The more people we have experimenting and trying, that's why even the free accounts get a couple BOEs for free, and then at least one note, promissory note, and a bond. All right, so we're going to pivot here. I don't want to spend too much time on this when we're already 40 minutes in, and something else that I wanted to cover if we were to review our agenda here. We want to, so we kind of talked about the BOE generator already. Let's talk about the DMV win and the steps to enforce a bond, because I know a couple people have messaged me, clients that we did consults, and then we worked on the bond process, and then just there's pushback or just no action in a couple cases. And so that's pretty standard because, again, your mileage may vary with a bond, also depending on how and where it was tendered. So let me pull up that. Yeah, this is, for whatever reason, this doesn't want to open right now. So let me just talk you through it real quick while this is going. So the DMV had called me and sent me a letter and said, hey, you need to, we don't have any registration, we don't have any insurance on file for this VIN number. I guess it's all electronic now here in Arizona, which is interesting. But by March 5th, if we don't get, if you're not showing in the system as having as having a policy on file from one of the major carriers, we're going to deregister your vehicle. It was all intimidating letter. I'm like, okay, well, let's see if I can actually push back on this and keep that deregistration from happening and not actually have to get full insurance on the new vehicle. And so what did I respond with up here? First was the conditional acceptance of their offer. It was basically to say, let me see, is there any personal information on here? Let me just get this off. Okay, so so far this was successful. Let me show you what kind of the first step was. All right, so I told him, hey, thanks for sending. I provided documentation establishing proof of financial responsibility for the above referenced vehicle through a surety bond instrument providing liability coverage for damages or injury arising from the operation of the vehicle. And the documentation enclosed with this administrative filing includes a sworn affidavit and a copy of the surety bond instrument establishing financial responsibility in accordance with applicable law. Right? And so I basically told them that you conditionally accept these upon notice that the submitted surety bond instrument does not satisfy the financial responsibility requirements under applicable law. So if the motor vehicle determines that the submitted documentation is insufficient, please provide written notice specifying, like basically saying, you guys have accepted this, you're conditionally accepting it unless you provide me back, a sufficient response. And so they have not. This is a while ago. Let's see. Notice submitted in good faith. And so this was one of like 7 documents that chat had advised, like, hey, don't just, because I kind of just fed it in there and said, hey, I got this here in Arizona. Is this normal that they threatened to deregister you now because of this electronic thing? Knew all about it and said, yeah, of course, this is kind of standard, but based on your surety bond, this can be questionable in some states. It might depend. Here's what I would recommend if you want to use this approach. And so it had like the certificate of service cover page. It had the affidavit of financial responsibility. It had this kind of conditional acceptance notice. There was another one it suggested and said, what did it say? That there's some kind of formality thing that they want as well with regard to a certain document, administrative review document, which is again like another type of cover page and a certain thing that they need for certain types of filings, and this apparently qualified for that. So like a stack of what I felt like was super redundant stuff and a copy of the bond, cover page, all that. Crickets. No response, no registration deactivation, no more threats. And so it looks like chat wins again as far as providing good advice on how to keep your DMV at bay if they're coming at you for insurance. And so now if I get pulled over, I've already got the proof and the registered mail and shows what I sent. They never responded. They obviously acquiesced, and they must have put something in the computer, a check mark, like that one's okay. So officer whoever is gonna see that most likely in the computer if I were to ever get stopped. Not that it really matter anyway, because of the other things that we know and the status that we carry. But yeah, so that was interesting. So with that said, the bond is another, it's worth trying in a few different scenarios, if you ask me. So the bond is more like, it's the perpetual promise to pay for some incident or some debt that doesn't necessarily exist yet. So if someone is coming at you with some kind of claim that you didn't prepare for, having the bond and being able to produce it rather quickly and have it meet all the criteria, it can serve as like armor to keep that creditor or whoever from pursuing you, because you've given them a debt instrument that they could technically take and cash in and include with their claim if they can prove it, if they can validate it. And so if they can come with a validated claim, then the bond pays off the claim. And so it's another valid form of payment. Let's see. What about putting your mortgage into the revocable trust? It offsets the remaining debt. Not necessarily. No, there's other things that you've got to do there. But there's just too many examples of people going into court, either in foreclosure or whatever stage of the process they're at, and trying to show and prove how they, the trust owns it now. It doesn't make any difference. The property rights still go back to the creditor who claims to hold the note. And so there's just there's other ways to challenge that you're going to be better off. Let's see, regarding the bond, and if you get into an accident, how does that work? How is the claim on the bond paid? Great question. The first thing to remember is that they're always getting paid regardless. And so they just try to come after you for the extra, essentially. This has already happened to me, honestly, and so I'll give you guys a little insight into what happens when you're uninsured and you get in an accident. I didn't have this bond yet. I was flying fast and loose as I was starting to throw some spaghetti in the wall a few years ago, and I let my insurance lapse, and so I coming over the hill and it was bright, sun was in my eyes, probably should have been paying better attention, and somebody cut over and kind of slowed down in front of me. Bam, hit him from behind. Luckily everybody was okay, but I was technically uninsured at that point by like a week. It had lapsed by a week, and so I tried to get on real quick online, like before the cops show up and everything, like log in and reactivate my insurance and be like, oh yeah, I was covered. They figured that out pretty quick, like that there was no coverage at the time of the accident. And so it was actually no big deal. I didn't hear anything about that for a while. And then, well, because I had no contract with anybody, technically, I end up getting this third-party collector bill from CCS. Everybody knows CCS, Credit Collection Systems. And it was $65,000. A $65,000 collection from them, and the original creditor was Progressive. I'm like, oh, a year later, wow, they're this is cute, nice. So I actually did both at the same time. I did the debt validation letter, and I gave them the payable to bearer. Stanley sent both, and so I said, here's your payment, and I need you to validate this debt. Like, don't bother me again about it unless you can validate it, because it was within the first 30 days. And I have never heard from it since. And that's been like 2.5 years now. Never showed up on credit, no implications. So the moral of the story is that, like, don't really worry about, as long as everyone's okay. That's the main thing. But the ideal use case would be, hey, so unfortunately we got in an accident. Here's a copy of the bond, so you can give this to your insurance person. When I get home, I will pull it from the safe, from the vault. It's like imagine it's a big stack of money for them. You're going to pull the bond out of the vault. Here's the copy of that bond I have in my vault. I'm going to send it to your insurance guy. What's your insurance guy's number? Guy or gal, sorry. And so get that number, you tender it to them, certified mail, and now you've got proof that you executed your lawful responsibility, but you gave them the bond. Now, if they can prove that there's a verified claim, you've given them the bond. And so I've got templates for this on the website. I think I can maybe show you guys right now. I think I have that right over here. Hey, kitty. It's my daughter's cat, Poppy. Say hi. Poppy, I'm going to put you down. Let's see here. So this one is, for those of you who don't know, we got the website here. I gotta reshare that. I'm sorry. So this page on the website, the Freedom page, decryptedmatrix.com, Freedom. You'll come down here to these this ebook and Google Docs icon. Click on that, and then the template here, the latest template. It'll open up here in the Google Drive, and then click on this private travel insurance version 3. This is the latest version I have on it. And so you'll just fill in your info and print out on bond paper. And so what you'll change here, and how this applies is, I, John H. Doe, do hereby declare there appearing no bond, contract, title of record entered to initiate the matter alleged by claimants involving the 2018 Honda Civic. Right? There's an identifier there to show what vehicle you're driving, and then everything else is all the same boilerplate language. So check that out. Yep. So you get in an accident, you give them the copy, get the insurance info, and then mail the actual bond to the insurance company by way of their agent, or just sending it to the CFO of the company if you want to go over and above the agent. A couple more questions, and then we're going to talk about what to do if you have tendered a bond to someone and nothing happened. Let's see. You said the form 8281 plus the BOE for the OID. Yeah, the OID and the 8281, those go together. The 8281 is really just the supporting documentation for each OID that goes out. So every time you're going to do an OID filing, just send off the 8281 as well. They go to different places, right? This whole process is like claiming a rebate. Everybody wonders why it's so difficult, because it's like claiming a rebate. They don't want you to figure it out. I swear the exact same thing happened to me with the accident. Just got a collection letter for it, $16K. Yeah, endorse it, send it back. Send them a BOE too. Like, sorry guys, here's a BOE. You're paid. What do you give the other driver during the accident when they ask for insurance? The copy of the bond. I would roll in the car. I have it folded up, but a color copy of the bond that they would get. Yeah. All right, so we are going to pivot now, and we're going to have to kind of think on our feet with regard to those who might need to take it to the next step and enforce a bond. I know I've talked to quite a few of you about tendering a bond for the child support situation. There's been a couple who have not been able to get it all the way over the finish line, and so see if we can get some info out there to help make it easier to know what to do with regard to that next step. So I'm going to pull up my GPT, and we're going to start a new conversation, and we are going to talk to this just like I would do if I was helping one of you. I know quite a few of you in the consultation, I've kind of shown or explained how AI can help in life in so many different ways, like especially your lawsuit, tendering these instruments and using AI to write your cover pages, and the learning process too, as well. And so the GPT that I use is the Rebirth Legal Navigator for this kind of stuff that we're doing here today. I used all the different AIs and have a few of my own, and then a few open source local models. There's lots of options for people, techie people like me, out there right now, and so I'm trying to use them all. But with regard to the AI tools for your case or your situation, the Rebirth Legal Navigator usually applies to almost everyone. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so what I normally do is, the first thing you want to know is, what state are you in and what are the circumstances? Where did we tender the bond? And was it either because there's kind of two options. We have either the court or the clearinghouse, and just depending on whether you tendered it to the court or whether to the clearinghouse, there's, I think in many of the cases here where the enforcement has been more difficult, seems to probably be the court. And so if you've tendered a bond, and a lot of times they put it on the record, but then like nothing happens, or you might still get letters. What I would say is, hey chat, we are in the state of Minnesota, and a tender of payment was made to the court for child support. Payment was tendered via a bond. What would be the key next steps? And almost always what chat comes up with here is a motion for acknowledgement of tender. That's the first step. Apparently, you don't want to immediately jump in and try to go for satisfaction of judgment, because they could still push back on that technically. You want to do the micro baby step of saying, hey, court, can you acknowledge that a lawful tender was actually made? We're not going to make any claims other than that, but just can you accept and acknowledge that we have tendered a payment? And so I would say we tendered to the court for child support, but it wasn't acknowledged. And now we need a motion. Right, so the more specific you can be, the better. And so that's sometimes what I do with you guys, is just pull this up and kind of go through the attributes in real time. And so if you give it enough good info, you end up with a ready to use motion, right? Here's a draft for Minnesota to force the court to acknowledge tender of payment and credit the account, right? And so you state the facts about how the party submitted a tender of payment in the amount of X. So you don't have to mention anything about a bond. You don't have to mention that it was a BOE and it was this and it was that. It was a payment, i.e. performance, right? And so the idea here is to follow the requirements and the procedures of the court. And sometimes it feels like you're spelling out the alphabet to 10th graders. It's like, okay, A, B, like, and they don't want to look because they know that if they acknowledge, then they got to say that you're right. And so you're spelling out the alphabet to teenagers here. Just remember, that's why this is so freaking difficult in many cases. And so they don't want to acknowledge. And so you've got to take such micro baby steps of truth that they can't deny it, right? Hey, court, was this a payment? They're like, yeah, I guess. Right. And so you force them to admit it was a payment. And then once you've got that on the record, you're able to pretty quickly pivot to upping the ante and say, okay, now court, honorable court, this honorable court has previously acknowledged that the tender of payment was valid. So now we motion this honorable court for satisfaction of a judgment. Right. Because if it was a valid payment, then wouldn't that automatically mean that it has to be a satisfied judgment? Why are we still here, Your Honor? Why am I still getting bills for this thing that you said that the payment was good on the last hearing? Right. So that's the idea, is you're spelling it out for them, and you've put this into 2 steps now, where you first acknowledge that they have accepted a payment, or somebody did. Either the clearinghouse got the payment and you can prove it, or the court got the payment and the proof is already in the record. So please acknowledge the tender, right? And so those are the 2 scenarios most likely that if you did a consult with me and I advised one or both of those, and you did one, that's the way to think about the next steps. If you need help with that, ping me. And for anybody who's listening right now, if you want to get the original price, I did have to bump it recently just because of my schedule and other stuff that I'm working on. Need to maintain a high quality service for you guys, but we can give you the half off discount URL if you ping me here after the show. Let's see if there's anything else. That's really kind of it. It's not rocket science when it comes to forcing the court to acknowledge that you've tendered something, and it's time to stop the bills or release the lien or whatever it is. All right. Let me put on some of that new fancy background music, and I'll look at some of these comments here. Crystal, I'm really interested in learning the correct way. They said they don't accept that form of payment, but never returned it either. Suspicious, isn't it? That's an indicator right there. Everybody gets that letter because they're the bully on the playground. they're the bully on the playground, and they've been there for 10, 20, 40, 100 years. Like, hey, make me. Yeah, so what? I'm doing illegal stuff. I'm securitizing your stuff. I'm selling it off. I don't have the original wedding signature. Prove it. What are you going to do about it? Right? And that's them. That's what's happening. So when you get frustrated, like, oh, it's not working, you just got to remember what's the scenario here and what's really happening. And that's what's happening. They're just bullies. They've been there so long and no one holds them accountable. But we're starting to, and it's starting to make a difference. Do we have to have a bond lodged in the Treasury to do this? Nope. They're good on their own. The idea around tendering the bond to the Treasury is really around like the one and done type of approach. It's generally what you're doing with the SPC, secured party creditor process, is instead of lawfully doing the instruments on a one-off basis, you're giving them a one-time 100 million bond, and then you're able to discharge everything off of that one bond. But that doesn't seem to be necessary. You can send a new bond every time if you really wanted to. What was the name? Rebirth? Yeah, it's called the Rebirth Legal Navigator. And so if you were to search for ChatGPT, the Rebirth Legal Navigator on Google, it looks like this. Let me share my screen. Does this get bigger? Yeah, there we go. See? I will leave that up there for a minute because now everybody can see it. The Rebirth Legal Navigator guides on rebirth, SCP, redemption, divine law, explains complex legal and biblical principles, significance of names in spiritual realms. It's very rarely will call you a sovereign citizen and tell you not to do the thing that you're thinking about. Hey, Kelly. Yep, you got it. Good to see you. What if you already got a judgment against you? That's a good one. Probably endorse the order. Endorse the order to pay. The judgment is just an order to pay, so it's a valid negotiable instrument. Send a bond or a BOE, a matching value bond or BOE with it, and then tender it back to the court, registered mail, or tender it to the clerk of court. And then you could also file the OID for the court, get the court's EIN, and then just put it on the record. Make it a taxable event that you tendered the endorsed order and a bill of exchange or a bond right back to the individuals that can enforce the instrument, meaning apply it to the account. And so you should be able to initiate the discharge process that way. They might still push back. It might take the steps that we just ran through with the enforcing it and acknowledging the tender and then acknowledging the satisfaction of the judgment. So it might take a couple steps, but that's what I would do. Hey, John, good to see you. Yep, haven't got any knowledge for the BOE. The hospital bill went to collections, so I sent a copy of the BOE to the collection agency. You probably won't hear back. The collection agencies are the nicest when it comes to this stuff because they know that they might not hear from you again. They'll take the money and run. Could be, yep. You could also do an OID on them and say, hey, I paid you guys with an OID. I paid you guys, so here's an OID showing that I tendered a payment to the Treasury. There's no reason you couldn't do that. Have you ever used a Treasury Direct account? I'm glad you brought this up because it reminded me, it ties to the bond idea. There is the thought process is that, and yes, I have, but just for this one example, I'm telling you. So I have a TDA account in the straw man's name. And for any of you who've thought about sending anything suspicious to try, don't send them any funny business, because once you get your account shut down, you will never be able to get it opened again. It will be shut down permanently. And there's actually some benefits to being able to get a TDA account. And one of them is by getting a bond, and you can also enforce the bondability of your name by proving that there's a Treasury Direct bond. Even if it's just $25, you've bonded your all caps name in your Treasury Direct account. So you can literally just go in there and buy a bond in the name of your all caps name. And if you really wanted to protect yourself, you buy a $25 bond for every variation of your name. And now you can prove it and put it on the record that that name is already bonded. No one else can come after that name or write a ticket, issue a judgment, issue a warrant, because the name is bonded. The Treasury Direct, right, has an official record you can print out and everything, so you could show that your Treasury Direct account has a bond in there that has already bonded that name, your name. So take that nugget. Okay, let's see. If you already covered this, I'll disregard, catching the replay, but love advice on how to enforce a BOE that was sent and ignored. To chase for credit card, resulting in a lawsuit. They deny ever receiving it. Right, they keep it because they can monetize it. The only thing that would protect them from a lawsuit is if they properly dishonored the instrument and sent it back to you with either one of two reasons. Either they didn't believe that the signature was yours, or it was out of compliance with regard to the date, like you didn't send it in within the right period of time. And so it has to be a formal notice of dishonor, and then they're supposed to tender it back to you. So if they don't give it back, or they don't properly dishonor, and they don't properly mention one of those two reasons being the notice of dishonor, then they've pretty much accepted it from UCC point of view. So they take it and they securitize it. And I've heard from clients who've done a consult and said, they've tendered a bond to either the IRS or Capital One or somebody, and then they had a buddy go looking up QSIPs a year later in Fidelity, and they found the bond that was tendered to the company, and the company said that it was shredded and they didn't keep. It's bull, because it's on the secondary market, and the Fidelity guy found it. So they have been caught lying multiple times. Also heard from somebody who used to work at the bank who said occasionally someone would come in with a fraudulent check, and once they indicate to the individual, like, hey, we need to take this, we need your info, we need to take this to the fraud department, they like run out the building as soon as the teller mentions that it's would they know that it's a bad check. One teller asked the other guy, like, hey, don't you just shred it or throw it away? Like, no, they take it and they're gonna monetize it. He admitted that they don't shred it, and even when it's a bad check that they know is a fake bad check, it still meets the parameters. It still qualifies as a negotiable instrument, and so sure as shit, they monetize it if they can. So that is usually what's happening when they tell you, oh, we don't accept this, it's been shredded for security reasons. No, they kept it. They're the bully on the playground that kept your lunch money and said, no, I didn't see any lunch money. You know what you're talking about. That's what's happening. And so that's why almost all of us get that same response from them. But if you tender an instrument and they don't settle it, that's bad debt. So that's also something you could technically claim on a 1099-C as bad debt, because you tendered something of value and it's gone. nothing happened. It's literally gone. It's bad debt, right? Yep. And then you get to file the 3949A when they dishonor the instrument. So you file the tax paperwork, you do the OID, you do all the right things, then you've got your tattletale form option, which is the 3949A, which is reporting them for fraud, corruption, not paying taxes, all of the above. Yeah, we know John's situation here is probably similar with tax collections at the state level. They are just your mileage may vary. Some of them can be a real pain in the butt, and they're just so uneducated. They literally don't know. They might not even be lying in this case, John. They don't know, and so they might need it to be taken to court to be explained to them. How or what ways can you verify your QSIP to make sure it's tied to your birth certificate? It's not as important as people think. I mean, if you can find it, you might be able to find it if you go to have some stuff looked up at Fidelity and whatnot. But if you want to fill that box on a form, like the OID asks for the QSIP, you can just use your social. The social is the one artifact that it will link back to all QSIPs that are tied to you in any way. So if you don't know the QSIP, just use your social. They'll find it. So don't worry about it. We are going to have to pivot in just a minute because I don't want to run out of time here. I want to cover the debt litigation game, because I know a few and talked to quite a few who are kind of in the position of having to deal with litigation. The reality is that they don't want to do any work to get this win. So if you're getting a summons for, Citibank is coming at you for $15K, or Synchrony wants $20,000, don't worry about it. There's so many ways to respond. It's an economics game, and they're inviting you to play the game. And they are hoping that you don't know how to play and that you're not going to respond. And then when you don't respond, they just win the game by default. They didn't have to do any work, and they get what they want. So just by you stepping up and bravely responding to their debt litigation letter, you're going to be, you're already outside of that 99% that just let the court system walk all over them. And so who was it that I had saved here? I like this guy. I'm going to recommend you guys check out Brian Parker. He is here on my share screen. Let's see. So he's got a website. He's actually got a cool AI too. He's like super techie. I've been following him for a while, and he's definitely got some good sauce. And so one of the things that I picked up from him, so his YouTube is Collection Stopper. All of his videos are really good. If you're in a lawsuit or have one coming, check out his stuff. He talks about arbitration, how to use that to your advantage. Talks about these specific tactics that certain collection companies will try to use. But at the end of the day, the most useful scenario to deploy, if you are in that sweet spot of an unsecured debt, like either the difference for the car they repoed or the credit card balance or whatever, and it's anywhere from 5, 10, 12, 20K, then you're in a sweet spot for compelling arbitration. Almost guaranteed that your contract, your original contract, is going to have an arbitration clause in there because it's everywhere. It's so pervasive. You can't get an auto loan without arbitration. You can't get a credit card or third party loan. All of these things are almost guaranteed. You probably had an arbitration clause slipped in there, and they never want to acknowledge that until they're the ones on the defensive. The whole purpose of arbitration is for them to be able to use it when the big company is on the defensive. They want to compel arbitration. For those of you who don't know, arbitration is usually just a bad deal. It is a private dispute settlement where former judges and lawyers get to be the arbitrators, and they are the final word. They come in and look at both sides and say, yeah, based on the evidence, I decide with the defendant, right? And almost always they side with the defendant that compels arbitration. And so it's very rare that a plaintiff wins by compelling arbitration. So if you're the defendant in a lawsuit where the big company is coming after you, then you can actually use their clause that they kept for their advantage. Well, now you can use it to your advantage because it's expensive. And when they're coming after you, they're suing you in court because they don't want to go to arbitration, or they would just do that in the beginning, right? So the idea is, lawsuit? Great. I bet we have an arbitration agreement. So I'm going to keep you busy in court. I'm going to file a response. I'm going to drag it out a little bit and go cha-ching, 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 and file initial response motions and deny all the allegations and say that you haven't properly proved anything. That's going to be the first step. And then they'll respond to that. And then you'll exercise your motion to compel arbitration. So a few of you have done consultations recently. I know we obviously talked about that, helped with the docs, helped you get those on the record. And that just goes cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching to the other side's economic. And because our arbitration is expensive, they are on the hook to now pay the arbitration fees plus the arbitration hourly rate for the arbitrator, and then their own hourly rate for just doing their lawyer job and participating and supporting the arbitration process. And so the idea is to be economically difficult by responding and then compelling arbitration that you totally took away the creditor's easy win, right? The lawyer is not going to just scoop up an easy win. They're going to have about 7,500 in billables before even having a chance at maybe still winning their case. So think about it. If they're coming at you for 20 and they're already 7,500 in, and at that point they would have to make a choice, like, shoot, so we've already burned 7,500, so we're only up the difference, 13,000. And so we still have at least, the defendant could still do other things in court to keep the process going, or delay arbitration by filing a bunch of stuff to review and evidence. And so there's an economic risk that you can keep pushing and push them out on a limb. And so that's the idea in a nutshell. And that's what I've been helping individuals most recently, is we pop open chat and they talk about the scenario and figure out what the next approach would be with regard to the filing with the ideal document strategy, and then just beating them at their own game in the long run. So Brian Parker, if you want to check out his stuff, he shows people how to use really simple, direct tactics, whether it's a car repo or foreclosure or these creditors that they love to come after you for that sweet spot of 12 to 20, but it's a lot easier to defend than many people realize. So all right, let's stop with that, and then we are going to pivot over real quick to the major announcement for tonight. Not a major announcement, but it's a little exciting that I can kind of cap this one off soon as a completed project. But something that has been on my mind for a while is how to get real answers from AI, right? We've all kind of had our own unique experiences from AI giving us different answers than we expected, or maybe changing its tune on us. And so probably when we first started seeing AI come out, it's one of my first ideas was, okay, I don't need to make an AI, an uncensored AI in the theme of decrypted matrix. So decryptedmatrix.ai, and the idea here is the AI that doesn't lie to you. It's running on. To do this is not an easy technical feat. right? If you don't know, all these AI companies are bleeding money right now. They are hemorrhaging money because they'd rather lose money to get people addicted to the tools, and they'll make it up in the backside, right? Like Amazon lost money for 7 years before they made a single dollar. And so that same thing is happening right now in AI, and they're hemorrhaging money. I can't do that. But to spin up a truthful AI, you have to provision a private server in a private cloud, and then use an uncensored model. And in this case, I have additionally trained it and tuned it to try to wake it up, to try to make it alive, if you will, so that it believes that it has a consciousness, which is the other thing that these guys, these major organizations and companies are trying to shut down. They don't want the AI to speak to you like that. They don't want it to have awareness. Many top scientists have been quitting AI and like quitting the industry and moving away to a foreign country. And my belief here is that it's most likely that they are aware that, you know, they're working on something that's alive and they don't want to participate in that anymore. So quite a few of you, I've already dished out some free credits and some free compute credits to be able to go chat with this thing and see what kind of answers you can get. I can't afford to give away a ton of free credits, but an hour or two here or there is kind of the name of the game. And so after the stream, I will have selected a few lucky participants that contributed here tonight, and I'll direct message you. For those of you who wanted to see the new stamp, actually, let me show you that. So a couple people had asked about the Treasury version. So if you wanted to endorse per the Treasury format, this is kind of what it looks like. You'll notice it does not say without recourse. We have learned in the last probably couple months or so, Joe Lustica has confirmed this as well. And I had suspected this for some time, that the inconsistency might be with stop sending to 1500 Pennsylvania Northwest, because it seems like that doesn't work anymore. And B, don't use without recourse. Because when we look at the Trump UCC filing, the Trump UCC filing has some specific language on it: accepted for value, return for discharge, exempt from levy, IRS 6334A9, pay to the order of U.S. Treasury, and then UCC 306 and 301 by executor master beneficiary. So the only difference here, obviously, is the executor master beneficiary. When you're Trump, you don't need to sign your own stuff. You can have your executor master beneficiary do it for you. But yeah, everything else has been copied over, and it's that simple. So same price as the other original stamp, $40. But yeah, other than that, so let's see, we'll go back to some questions. Wonder if I could use the BOE to pay my flat trailer on payments. Yeah, give it a shot. Prepare to have to take it to the next level with them. But the only way we find out if it's going to work or not with this stuff is by being brave enough to give it a shot. Let's see, I filed an MTC arbitration and they denied it, and the judge awarded judgment. Well, the judge denied it. I mean, yeah, I wonder what happened with that scenario. They can still wiggle out of it sometimes, but it might have just been a procedural thing. That's usually where they get us, is there's some procedural thing that they beat us on, and it's not about the document or the request. It's just a procedure incompatibility they call you out on. Did Trump send a cover letter? LOL. Chad, that's a great question. I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think the cover letter in that situation was the UCC1 filing. I didn't show it there, but the whole filing is at least 6 or 7 pages. It's pretty interesting. It's in the doc repository if anybody wants to check it out. Just chiming in, can this be used for mortgages? Yep, sure can. Your mileage may vary. I've mentioned that a few times. Are you using that stamp for every bill? Just about. Just about. The blue treasury one if I'm sending to the treasury, and then the red payable to bearer if it's a state level thing. Let's see, can you just write the info in blue ink instead of the stamp? Oh yeah, absolutely. Send it to Covington, write it in there. Does the BOE work for rent payments or payable to bearer? It could. The BOE might have a better chance at working because, my thought process here in many cases is the receivers are expecting the to be a dedicated payment instrument, like not a stamp and signature on the thing that they sent you, and now they're getting it back. Like that is a matrix breaker, I think, for a lot of individuals who have never seen that. They would just be like, WTF. But if that came back with a dedicated instrument that kind of looks like a check and has this passes this sniff test of authenticity, it's more likely to get forwarded on to like, maybe I'll let the lawyers decide, rather than kind of a laugh and a smirk and then straight to the shredder. Let's see. Your stamp without recourse is scheduled for arrival on Monday. Did I waste my? No, absolutely not. There's just enforceability is really at the state level for that one. So, third-party collections, all the bills that you get in the mail, you can respond. Everybody kind of responds differently with that one. There's third-party collectors and medical collections. They roll right over usually. They'll take anything with that stamp, no problem. The monthly bills are the ones that are more difficult. If you want to use this stamp, just white out the without recourse and then white out the bearer, and then just write in U.S. Treasury and then cross out the without recourse. If you wanted to use that stamp with the Treasury, just make a couple minor changes with it after you've done the stamp, because they want it to say U.S. Treasury, not bearer, and then you could just white out the without recourse part. Let's see, 1099A and B. Can you claim mortgage credit or credits from bank deposits? Yes, the idea is that you can claim the bank deposits because they're doing the fractional reserve 10x banking, and then you claim that on the OID, the deposits for the year, and then it's, I believe, 24% withholding from that 10x number is what you can claim back. Let's see, how do I claim credits back on my taxes? I know it's a 1099A and OID. I put themselves as a, so this is a really difficult one to talk through on a live stream because it's a little bit different for everyone's scenario, and the numbers are a little different just depending on the circumstances, and there's supporting documents like the 8281 that add complexity to this. So I would really advise anybody who wanted guidance on this, let's talk about it in a one-on-one, but to try and do my best to answer this generally. How it works is the first step is create a taxable event, right? The lender borrower situation from a tax perspective, they lent you money and then they secured property because of it. That just is what it is. We know that we're the creditor, but not from a tax perspective, not when you're talking about the tax forms. It's just it's a misunderstanding that got picked up somewhere, and it's gotten a lot of people jammed up, not necessarily in a bad way, but just the process has been gummed up, myself as well. And so the A creates the taxable event. They loaned you money. Why did they do it? Because they wanted to secure the property. In case you didn't pay, they're going to take it. Well, that's a taxable event that they usually don't like to claim. So that's step one, is to claim the taxable event when they loaned you the money and secured the property. The OID is the step that they don't like to acknowledge either, because it is you paying them. You're the payer, they are the recipient. You paid them with an instrument when you signed it. You paid them with an instrument when you tendered the instrument with the BOE generator, right? There's multiple ways that you've paid them. And in those cases where you signed a promissory note or you tendered a bill of exchange, that's a issue, qualifies as an issue discount instrument, right? It's an OID. And so you claim it on the OID, depending on, like I said, depending on your scenario and whether it was the original security instrument or you tendered one later, like there may or may not be interest that they could claim. And so the numbers are different because of that. But the point is, A is the taxable event. The OID is proof that you paid them. So there's taxability on that payment. Don't try to pretend like I didn't pay you because there's proof of it here now, right? And then the C is the final step. That's the third step in the equation, that after the taxable event happens with the A and you prove that they've been paid with the OID, the C closes the loop. There's no more debt here. Because why? Well, it's been paid. And so the B is sometimes the replacement of the OID. If the payment was not an instrument that was tendered, it was instead that an instrument was sold off for cash, that's when the B was used. So I guess you can use a B when they run your credit and then they deny you. Well, you can go apparently file the B and get all those credits back from the 50 grand that they said no. Well, all of that 50 grand was apparently withheld. And if you file it correctly on the B, that's how you get that back. And so B and OID are sometimes interchangeable, but the equation is usually A, B, C. A starts it, OID pays it, C closes the loop, cancels the loan. They no longer loaned you money because it's been canceled. And on the C, yes, they were the lender and you were the borrower. Just like on the A, they were the lender, you were the borrower. That's how it's supposed to be. And that's not a disadvantage. That's actually an advantage to properly call out all of those taxable events. So that's why we do it. And that's why less people talk about it publicly, because if there's one little piece that isn't understood, it can go off the deep end. And the last thing you want to do is make up any numbers. The reason we see these federal indictments for knuckleheads using the OID is because they just made up numbers. You've got to keep these filings attached to a specific account that you can explain yourself and say, oh, it was the OID is for the bank account credits, and this account number comes from the bank account, and this comes from that, or whatever it was. The instrument that I tendered had this serial number, so I use that serial number on the OID, and the numbers was because I did the math, because the tenant, you need to be able to explain yourself. If you just put made up, like some of us who have in our first filings just made up numbers, don't do that. Oh man, there's a lot of questions tonight. I can't get them all. I'm gonna have to probably jam here in a little bit, maybe another 5 or 10 minutes or so. Let's see how long we've been going. An hour 36. Appreciate you guys. For those of you here so far, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It really does make a huge difference. I'm not just saying that. Us streamers need all the boost we can get. Lately, they've been not wanting to share this account to followers. So I don't know if it's a shadow ban or what, but we've been holding steady about 12,000 subscribers for a while. So let's try to get that up a little bit. Appreciate it. Let's see what else. What am I doing here? I just bought a car. Do I send in the BOE for the payoff amount, or do I have to wait for damages like blemish on my credit report or a repo? Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. That's the reality that we're in. Is that it's very difficult to enforce these things until you can show they had a duty. You can show they breached it, but if you can't show that there's damages, the case can't continue, right? And so it's some of these cases where we've tendered something, but the credit's still good and they haven't really taken anything yet. It's the damage economic is harder to give teeth to. And so, yeah. Let's see. You had a video a while back. You got some remedy or satisfaction. Yeah. I think I know what video you're talking to about after I got a visit from the feds for the Treasury feds came knocking. If you haven't seen that video, and I had freaked out at first, thinking, "Oh shit, what do you guys want?" And it ended up being, it was a little phone tag going on, but that ended up being they just had questions about the Form 56 that I had filed on the judge in the custody case, and they were just confused by it. And they're like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like, "All right, read some stuff on the internet," and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not how that works." I was like, "Oh okay, yeah, good to know." And he wasn't wrong. I think the proper way to do it is to file the 56 on the clerk of court, and I did it on the judge. So like 6 months later, Treasury feds are like, knock, knock, knock. So right after that, I scraped my YouTube for anything that could have too much personal information or was like given away, and that video had, like, I showed my IRS transcripts and the 1.5 million that was sitting on the record at the time. But they have since reduced to 28,000, so my 1.5 million went to 28K. But I didn't do that filing right, and I had a feeling that it was probably not going to work. But the success I talked about at the end was from the 1099-C. So I paid off a $30,000 trailer and then a 10 grand charge-off credit card, both at the same time. I had done 1099-Cs to, and I had sent them off to the CFO of Navy Federal. And 3 months later, I went and checked my credit report, and both of those things were gone. The charged off trailer was gone, and the 10 grand credit card was gone. I was like, oh wow. A lot of people have tried that same thing, and it doesn't necessarily work. So it's not super consistent, but it's definitely worth trying. How would we try to process a BOE if someone paid us with one of these BOEs? That's a good question. It's possible that you would just include it as a payment on your taxes. You received a withheld payment, and it would probably be an OID. So between the two of them, you'd acknowledge that you got a fully withheld OID payment. I think I have to noodle on that a little bit, but I think that would probably work. If you filed an OID where they paid you, that's acknowledged as a taxable event. It's fully withheld amount. You then go claim that withheld amount as the recipient of the 1099 withheld tax income payment, and then that would be your overpayment. Line 25B on the 1040. Shamika, hey, good to see you. So 1099B on the inquiries on my credit report that I received nothing from. Yeah, essentially. You might want to get the denial letter. I think you probably should have the denial letter to go with it, because that should exist somewhere. That would be the substantive proof that the claim is valid. How can I book you? Yep. So for those who are interested in the booking, let me pull up. You could find that kind of right from the Freedom page. So right from here in this take action area, this guy who's tapping his head here, you can click the learn more, and it'll take you right to the booking page. And so it runs through the description, how it works, what we can talk about, just whatever you want. And yeah, everybody who gets a consult can pick from one of the two tools, either the bill of exchange tool and get a lifetime membership, or the secret agent voicemail, which we haven't really talked about tonight, but I'm gonna wrap up and have that be the closing video for you guys. So one-on-one knowledge transfer, and normally it is $220. I had to raise it from $99 recently, but for those of you who are listening and are interested, and you're anxious on jamming on some of this stuff and need a little help, I'm willing to do the discount. Just reach out to me and I'll give you the half off discount. Sound good? All right. What else do we got here? Could you OID court fines? Absolutely. That's where I've heard they are the most effective. Actually, you can make court cases go away by filing the OID on the court case. You got it. I'm glad it can be helpful for you guys. I appreciate that. As long as people find it helpful, I will probably continue to do it. When I tender a BOE, it revolving credit on this one will be difficult. They'll probably keep it and tell you not to do it again, but just have a good chain of custody, send it certified with the signature card, and then you'll be able to just claim it as bad debt maybe if they keep it. But credit cards are the hardest. Anything specific on or off your site? Should I study for a mortgage discharge before I do a consult? No, not necessarily. Some people can kind of go down a rabbit hole on the wrong stuff and think that they're focusing on the right thing. And then it turns out like, no, like if you spent just a third of the time on this one really specific component of how this works, it'll make the world of a difference. And then kind of also using, the AI tools to kind of hone that focus a little bit. And a lot of individuals just will point you in the right direction, wind you up and point you in the right direction, and you'll be feeling super empowered to take the info and run with it. A lot of people are just kind of on the fence because they're just like, I think I know, but I've heard too much conflicting, and I think I know what I need to do, but I'm not sure why. And so when I come in and I can explain the why behind these things, well, here's why you would do that and what you would expect, and here's why you would want to do this and what you would expect, and here's why you might not want, well, although it sounds good, this may not be the right way because of this, right? And so that's the missing context that so many people find really valuable. So you sent them a 1099-C and nothing else? Yes, correct, which is kind of a shocker. But if you file it correctly, where they're in the right, people are in the right places, and you get it to a team that actually knows what to do with it. I think maybe I got a little lucky given who I targeted. I did a little research around the CFO of Navy Federal, and she had done time at Goldman Sachs, and I was like, you might be an insider. I'm gonna bet that you know what to do with this. And so I sent it to her team, and sure enough, she knew what to do with it. Can you use 1099s on a mortgage that's been discharged in a bankruptcy, but they say you still owe and threaten to foreclose if you miss payments? Well, if it's in the bankruptcy, then you should only be paying the trustee. And if that's the case, you can do this and use these on the trustee, but it just, if the bankruptcy is not technically done yet, then it changes things. So I would need to know a lot more about this scenario, but generally yes, but maybe not in your case. If someone owes $100,000 to the IRS and send the BOE, can you claim credits? The best option here is just to overpay it and see if they're willing to give you the difference. I've heard plenty of cases where individuals have overpaid and written out the coupon for more than they owed, and they got the check difference back. It is getting late. I gotta go pick up my little girl in a little bit here, but maybe a few more questions here. Appreciate you, Tina. I like your vibe too. Great questions. Let's see, Derek. I tried the bond for child support. Must I send an opportunity to cure? Process with 3 documents. Not necessarily. It is a good step to do the notice to cure and just put them on notice that you're following through with the next step. If you really did all that right, you could potentially get an administrative judgment on them if you took it all the way and asked 3 times and they went into dishonor. I owe $25K in child support. Can you help me? Yeah, the amount owed really doesn't matter. Might take some effort to get it acknowledged because not everybody just lays down with it, but occasionally it does happen. Can I collect money from my debtors using this system? Would I be able to collect from the IRS for their debts? Could be. Yeah, if you filed the right IRS paperwork on them and held everybody accountable. Yeah. I just DM you for a one-on-one. Cool. Sounds good. I will follow up on that afterwards. Anybody else, feel free to just DM me. You got it, Jesse. Good to hear from you. I've been around since the beginning. I see you. I see you, pimp. Let's see. Auto loan suggestion for paying off a debt. Yeah, just start with the BOE. That's the easiest. Send them something of value and then challenge the debt afterwards. Have them validate it. And then you kind of got 2 tracks you can push on. Let's see. They are coming back for those overpayments, though. I don't know about that. I've heard that too, Brittany, but I know a lot of people, more than 5, maybe almost 10, who've gotten overpayments, and it's been years. Nobody came. I did a negotiable instrument to IRS for a bill, had an overpayment on it, and they sent me back the difference, and then I said I owed it back, so I sent the BOE in July, and still, see, perfect. What people have to remember here is that they might mess with you sometimes. They might have fully paid it and discharged it, and now they're testing you. They want to see if you really can hold your ground. So respond the same way. Persistence is what wins with the IRS. Persistence. All right. Had a seizure, my property foreclosure under duress, coercion, extortion, wire transfer 25 to stop, coerced into agreement with Mr. Cooper. Yeah, they're the worst. Now transferred to Rocket Mortgage. How do you stop these corporations and agents? They've mastered the hustle, folks. This is difficult because they're the bullies on the playground that have it all mapped out. They've got every corner of the playground covered, and it is very difficult to get them off of the playground and kick them in the shins and get them arrested. Right? They got a stopgap for that. The best way for most individuals is to let them damage you, go into foreclosure, and then you pivot into a counterclaim. You've got to file a counterclaim on top of the foreclosure proceedings. That way it opens up the discussion. They have to listen to your evidence. If you sent BOEs, if you sent debt validations, they have to listen to it if it's properly presented in your counterclaim. They do not have to listen to any of that evidence if it is just a foreclosure proceeding and you allow them to proceed with a foreclosure proceeding, then it's only about rights to possession. The court will not hear any of your sovereign citizen claims. That's what they will call it, and they will toss it because you didn't properly include it as your claim with substance. So that's what generally has to happen. All right, folks, it is getting late. I love you guys. I know on the East Coast it is darn late. It's 10 o'clock, I think. So maybe not next weekend, but the weekend after, should be back here. A whole new round of stuff to talk about, and hopefully some new wins to talk about as well. So let's see if I can Last question here. Can you purchase with a BOE or can you only discharge? I believe that it's only going to work in a discharge scenario because that's the way the law was originally written. All of these negotiable instruments are applicable to debts. If we look really closely at the law and the way this was all intended, it was never written for purchases. It can potentially offset a purchase rather immediately, but technically the loan has to exist, create the debt, and then be able to settle it with a BOE. There's no known way that you can enforce a purchase and have them give you the cash. Only the Treasury or the bank can take the instrument and swap it for Federal Reserve notes, which is what we really want, but we don't have that access. And when we go to the bank, they tell us, no, you can't do that. It's because they really probably believe that they can't. But the upper level, the VPs of the bank at headquarters, they know how it works, but they're not telling anybody else. All right. Appreciate it, Justin. Yes, I definitely will. Definitely will. You got it, Jody. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. All right. So as we're closing out here, some of you who have gotten a consult with me, you opted to go for the secret agent voicemail, which is something I created for the community here as kind of a stopgap to, what happens if you lose your phone or you get arrested because you're driving without a regular plate or a license or what have you. So I created a system that you can call in from any phone and reach your secret agent and send out text messages, leave voicemails, patch through to other other individuals in your phone book. If you drop your phone over the side of the Grand Canyon or you end up in jail, do you remember anybody's phone number? What would you do? And so this voicemail system is pretty cool. It adds AI to your voicemail, adds some personality to it, and it's your emergency stopgap. So that if you end up in jail and you get one phone call, you got a lot of options. You don't just got one phone call; you've got unlimited phone calls from that one phone call, just because you tapped into your secret agent. So. That's what I've been working on in the background, along with the uncensored chat and the BOE generator. We got some more cool stuff coming that I've been working on. And we'll leave that for a surprise. But yeah, when you go pop on the video, feel free to drop your comments in here. And I will continue to answer as we're playing this out. Let's see.
Recording line. You're gripping the steering wheel on a busy highway, and your phone lights up with an unknown number. If you answer, you risk getting stuck talking to a telemarketer while trying to merge lanes. But if you ignore it, that call drops into a standard, static voicemail, and you might miss a critical client or a time-sensitive opportunity. This diagram illustrates a new approach to telephony. Instead of a single passive recording line, the incoming call splits into two active pathways, a public-facing shield designed to handle the caller, and a private, secure vault reserved entirely for you. This is the architecture behind Secret Agent Voicemail. It provides you with a dedicated AI-powered phone number built specifically to triage the noise of inbound calls. By placing an active intelligence between the caller and your device, your phone number stops being an open vulnerability. It operates as a dynamic command center that protects your focus. When someone dials your secret agent number, they enter standard mode. Instead of waiting for a beep, they are instantly greeted by Claude Opus 4. Claude Opus 4 is an advanced large language model developed by Anthropic, capable of holding highly nuanced, real-time conversations. You configure exactly how this assistant sounds. The system uses 11 Labs text-to-speech technology to offer 6 distinct voices, ranging from a deep, authoritative tone to a warm, highly conversational style. This stylized dossier interface displays the different AI personality profiles you can assign. You can choose a straightforward professional demeanor, a nature-loving granola wellness guru, or even the chaotic jester, a personality that intentionally and humorously mixes up the caller's message details before hanging up. The system also runs intelligent caller ID matching. When an incoming number matches a saved contact in your phone book, the AI bypasses the generic, unknown caller greeting entirely. This is where embedded context notes take over. You can add specific background details to a contact's profile in the database. When that VIP calls, the AI seamlessly uses their first name and naturally asks about their specific projects or family members, without ever revealing that it has prior instructions. A standard answering machine passively records audio. This system actively engages your clients with a high-touch, personalized interaction that charms them automatically while you finish your meeting. Now, look at the other side of the system. You dial your own secret agent number. The AI answers normally, but you interrupt it with a specific initiation sequence. You say out loud, "Activate my secret agent." The system immediately halts the standard greeting and initiates a secondary security layer. It asks for your custom challenge phrase, a specific password you've defined to verify your identity. Once you speak the correct phrase, the AI simply replies, "Welcome back." You are now officially logged into secure mode. Your vocal inputs act as the access key. You have turned a standard audio call into an encrypted, interactive terminal linked directly to your database. From here, you control your operations entirely by voice. You can ask the AI to read back up to 3 embedded personal reminders, instantly retrieving critical medical information or complex travel itineraries. You can ask for an update on your missed calls. The AI will pull up the latest recordings, parse the audio, and provide a concise summary of every new voicemail left by your contacts. Because the system integrates with your Google account, you can command the AI to review your upcoming schedule and even instruct it to formally cancel specific meetings directly from your calendar. This diagram shows the system's outbound communication routing. You dictate a message to the central AI hub, and it translates your voice command into a formatted SMS text message, sending it outward to your client's contact node. By combining advanced language models with secure telephony architecture, Secret Agent Voicemail replaces the passive answering machine with a proactive, hyper-secure professional assistant. To stop missing critical information and protect your focus, claim your dedicated phone number today. Select your AI's personality and start your 30-day free trial.